All right, we are live. How is everyone doing today? Let me just get
We're
back to my
good.
screen over here. How are you guys doing? Welcome, Taj and
Good.
Chris, to the show. So excited to have you guys. We'll give them a proper introduction in a second. But for now, Taj and Chris are in the DMV, which means DC, Maryland, and Virginia. And they are aspiring investors that I think are struggling to find their first deal. So stick around to hear what you need to do when you're struggling to find your first deal. Anyway, guys, this is a live hot seat that we do each and every, usually Tuesday, but today is Monday because tomorrow we have our weekly group coaching calls with my students because don't tell anyone, but Wednesday through Friday, I'll be out of the office playing in a golf tournament. Don't tell anyone though. So I love to play golf. I got my buddy flying in from Columbus, Ohio, and we're going to spend 3 days, 4 days of playing golf and drinking and debauchery and having a great time. So anyway, we normally do these on Tuesdays. It's a hot seat where I bring on new investors or any investors. We've had some big hitters in the last couple of shows. I hope you guys enjoyed that. So it doesn't matter what level you are, but I basically ask their obstacles and then I crush each and every one of them. So why do I do these? I do these so ordinary folks, besides helping real estate investors scale and take their business to another level, or besides helping people like Taj and Chris find their first deal, I do this so I can show ordinary people at home or at work who are stuck in that dead-end job, that are sick and tired of their job, not making enough money. I teach people how to find freedom through real estate investing in a tactic that we call wholesaling, which doesn't require much credit or no credit really, and hardly any cash to get into. So you're going to see how you can do this. In 2003, I started with a negative net worth of $80,000, which means I owed $80,000 more than I had. I was one of the 78% of Americans living paycheck to paycheck. And since then, since getting in this business, I have grown Express Home Buyers to a company that does over 200 deals. We'll probably do 250 in the next 12 months all over the country. And we generate millions and millions of dollars of wholesale fees. So guys watching at home and Taj and Chris sitting there, you can do the same, I promise. So watch this training today, watch this hot seat, and then download my free training at the end where I go step by step, detail by detail on how we made $33,750 on a townhouse in Chantilly, Virginia, about 10 miles that way, without ever buying it or without ever renovating it. So this is going to be an awesome episode. But that training, stick around to the end. I'll give you a link to it, and you will not regret watching that because it is amazing stuff. So I want everyone now to share this, if you would, as I'm putting this on my page. Please do me a favor and share this to anyone who you think might find this helpful. If you got friends that are in dead end jobs, share this. And if you like what I say, hit the thumbs up button. And if you want to send me and Taj and Chris some love, click that heart button. Just go click right now. Now, remember, this isn't just for Taj and Chris. This is for the whole listening community. So if you have any questions whatsoever, whether you're watching live right now or a week or a month or a year down the road, type your question in there below in the comment section. I will come back and answer it. I promise you. So, all right. Welcome, everyone, to the Real Estate Investing Hot Seat live stream podcast. I want to welcome Taj and Chris. Chris and Taj, tell us your story. How did you get here? What are you all about, and what are you trying to do?
How did we get here? We've always been interested in real estate. We were watching all of the HGTVs and the whole flipping house and everything. I was told on 2 different times about wholesaling, but it didn't sound real.
It sounded like a scam.
It sounded like a scam.
I guess how they were explaining it.
Right.
It didn't sound like it was legitimate.
So until about maybe a few months back, I found out about it again, did some research, and see that it was a plethora of people doing this and actually making a living doing it.
Awesome. So I hear that all the time. And when I run some ads online, I get the same thing all the time. Scam. And I'm like, this is how I feed my family of 6. And this is how 15 full-time employees feed their families. And it's how another 10 virtual assistants feed their families. And every guest that I've ever had on this podcast who's doing the business. So anyway, I love to hear it. I love the naysayers because that keeps the people out of the business. But no, there's no scam here. You very simply, you guys could explain this, but you get a house under contract from a seller. the house is likely banged up or the seller's in financial distress. You get it at a discount. And then all you do is you turn around and you assign that contract to someone for a higher price and you get the spread, right?
Right.
Right. Okay. All right. So you guys looked into some, you're interested in real estate. You find out about wholesaling. Now where are you at and what are you trying to achieve?
So, ironically enough, we just started kind of being a self-teacher. We were on YouTube following yourself and maybe about two other wholesalers, and learning a plethora of information. And through that, we just started cold calling, to be honest. I mean, we started doing driving for dollars. We started researching to see through other databases, okay, what will give us a free trial to run scripts or to run names and how to find a contract. We we just started cold calling first. We're like, okay. Then we started looking up auctioneers in our area because we kept hearing, oh, go to an auction and introduce yourself to some buyers. And that's a way to build your buyers list. I mean, you name it. That's how we found some other ways just to say, okay, well, we can start doing something before we officially are able to invest into a program or a class of any type that was actually clearly affordable too. So I started doing some cold calling and researching these home buyers. Came across the home buyer in our area, in the DMV area, and recently did a walkthrough of the home, and through, I guess, doing the comps, assessed his property and the work that will be done for what we knew. His house, he declined the offer, to say the least. But it's, there's always going to be a no. We've called a few other homeowners. Some were not wanting to sell. Some wanted to still work with their mortgage company. We just really done cold calling. We did a few bandit signs. We just went to like Home Depot, handwritten them with a marker and said, we buy houses, and put our phone number on there. First we got the Google phone, but then we were like, no, heard a few times that wasn't as professional. So we needed to invest into another app. So we invested into the app, got our business line going, got an email up for the, I guess the wholesale property for our wholesaling business that we named it. And so far, so that's what we've done.
Okay. All right. So I got to say, folks out there listening, what did Chris and Taj do? They took action. This is the first step to success, is you got to take action. So send these guys some love right now by clicking that heart button. You guys aren't sitting at home saying, this is a scam, this isn't working. You did enough research to know it's not a scam. And then you started saying, okay, how do I close a deal? How do I get some money so I can invest in Brad's coaching program? How can I get more money to then reinvest in marketing? So honestly, like, it's so great to hear the fact that you guys are actually out there taking action. And I can, if I could bet on you guys as a team and a couple, I would bet on you, because I can't tell you, you're probably sitting there, disappointed that you haven't gotten your first deal, saying, oh, this is hard, but you have no idea how many people wish they could be like you, but they're sitting at home thinking of all the reasons why they can't take action. So you guys really have to pat each other on the back when the call's over, give each other a big hug and say, hey, Brad says we've started in the right direction. And we're going to go into much more detail on the things that you should and shouldn't be doing.
Okay.
But the fact of that you've actually started, you're driving for dollars, you're cold calling, you're putting out bandit signs, amazing job. So really, really, really great job. Let's get into, and I want to talk a little bit about the deal that we're trying to do together. But what are your goals? What do you a year from now, if you could look forward, what would you like to say in a year from now?
Year from now,
homeowners for one,
3 to 5 deals a month. Looking to, I guess, leverage the business with employees and VAs.
Have a good solid buyers list. Also outside, we're like you, we're a family of 6. We have four children, so definitely investing into them, not just educational wise, but be able to um, have this business and pass it on to them if they're interested as a generational wealth. Give back to our church, give back to our community. But as far as the business is going, definitely leverage it where we can have a full-time staff that we can employ, have VAs, and have a full-fledged running business, and then therefore be able to teach others. Hey, we were in this situation just 12 months ago. It may take us however long to get this first deal, but we're going to keep going at it. But learning it enough, still being teachable, but be able to teach others what we have learned. So yeah, so far
I love it. Great stuff. And that's why I started this coach. It's one of the reasons I started this coaching business, is because I tell prospective students all the time, your money is not going to change my life in any way, shape, or form. What will change that, though, is if you guys call me back a year from now and said, hey, guess what? I'm doing 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 deals a month. I've given X thousands of dollars to my church. I've got my kids enrolled in the school that they always wanted to. And by the way, I'm now teaching new investors. Like, that's why I do this business. And people that know me really know that's the case, because we've got Express Home Buyers that's exploding right now. We're doing deals across the nation. We're trying to become a nationwide company. So if I was really about the money, I'd be really focused on Express Home Buyers and growing that. But I just love working and helping people like yourself. So great start, guys. So your goal, I got your goals. Let's dive into a little bit about what you're doing. Cold calling. Tell me what list did you get, and what does that look like with that whole cold calling procedure? What are you guys doing with that?
So we went to the courthouse.
The foreclosure.
That was the first one. Tax liens. That was the first one that we said that we found out was easier to get.
Tax liens was easier than the foreclosure, or vice versa?
Foreclosures were easier to get than the tax liens.
Okay. What was the issue getting the tax liens?
We weren't sure if they were up to date. I mean, they had a lot of them that were on there that were 2 years old. Some had very low balances. We just weren't sure if they were paid off and how up to date they were. We did do some vacancy homes, but by driving for dollars. But we just got our main list. Our first list was foreclosure. We pulled that, and we just started calling the oldest ones. They said go out as far as 2 years back, because we researched the laws in the DMV area and the Maryland area, to be specific, and said, okay, they have their timeline for all the way to foreclosure. We researched that and grabbed it, and then we just started calling homeowners, researching their names.
What courthouse were you in?
We did Anne Arundel County Courthouse. We did Prince George's Courthouse.
Okay. All right. So did you end up getting the tax liens?
That was our first. No tax liens. The first deal was the fourth deal we've been trying to work is this foreclosure one.
Okay. So go ahead, Chris.
I'm sorry, to put everything in perspective, we've only been doing it for 2 weeks. So
yeah, we've only been
at
this about two and a half.
All right.
Yeah, this has been
even better. Even better. Send these guys some love. Click that heart button. If I could click it, I can't find it. I'd be clicking it right now. Great job, guys. So one of my favorite things is getting wealthy isn't hard. It's just doing other things, other people aren't willing to do. So I've heard over and over again that these tax liens are hard to get, but they are some of the best leads, because if someone owes taxes, that means that their house is likely paid off, because if it wasn't paid off, they would be paying their taxes through the mortgage. So You've got someone with equity, and you've got someone who's in financial distress. So I would totally work those. How are you finding the phone numbers?
White pages, been verified. We haven't been able to really invest in it as far as income is concerned, to do like a skip trace or any other database that I know we've seen you highly recommend, but we just kind of winged it there. Just
I love it.
If it was low cost, under $20 for me to just to get for that 30 days, then I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
And we just did it. And
Okay.
kind of went with the ball running.
Okay, I love it. Absolutely love it. So get the tax liens. Before I say that, the problem with foreclosures are you don't know how much equity they have.
Right.
And in order to buy a house below market or get under contract and then flip it to another investor, you've got to have equity. And the foreclosures, you don't know the equity, and you don't know how. There's a lot of people chasing those. So not saying don't do them. I'm just saying that get the tax liens no matter what you have to do and call those people. And without money, whitepages.com is great. Ben Verified is great. Zaba Search, Z-A-B-A search.com is another good one. I actually put together a pretty robust blog post. It's so big, it was 2 parts. And it's how to find motivated sellers on a champagne or beer budget. We don't have enough time in this episode to go into all of the things. I'm going to touch on a couple. But go to bradchandler.com/champagne. And you're going to see the first episode or the first blog post. And at the bottom, you just click and you get the second part. And on there, I've got all kinds of ways to find deals if you don't have a lot of money. One of those ways is driving for dollars, which we'll come back to in 1 second. Actually, we hit the tax liens. And so yeah, just continue calling all of those folks and don't just call them one time. It's just like if you've listened to my podcast, you hear about when I talk about direct mail. If you can't mail them 3, 4, 5, 6 times, don't mail them. Same thing with calling people. Don't just call them one time. Call them over and over and over again for 3 or 4 months. And you have their address. Obviously, you have their address. So go into the tax assessment website, figure out what their property address is, and then you can hand write them a card, which costs you just the cost of the stamp.
Right.
Or you can go knock on the door. You can go if their address is the same as the property, go knock on the door. Hey, we're in your neighborhood. We're looking to buy a house. Are you interested in selling your house? It's that easy. And then if they have an address other than that, then if the address is obviously local, you can't drive to Mississippi or something. But if the address is local, go knock on it and say, hey, I'm really interested in buying your house on 123 Maple Street. Could I make you an offer on it? And then they're either going to say, obviously say yes or no.
Okay.
So driving for dollars, I don't know what your budget is like in there. And I talk about in the blog article on how to find motivated sellers on a beer champagne budget, located at bradchandler.com/champagne. I go into driving for dollars, but we came across this phenomenal app called Deal Machine. And if you go to that article, it's there. If you want to skip that article for some reason, which I don't know why you would, because it's got such great information. But if you go to bradchandler.com/DFD for driving for dollars, there's an app where have you heard of this, guys?
Yes.
Well, yeah, you just take a picture and it sends to the person's mailing address a postcard with the picture you just took on the front and back. If you got a postcard in the mail with your house on there, are you not going to read that and be like, what is this about?
Absolutely.
So it's a phenomenal way to do it. And I'm having some coaching students. One of my coaching students got a $25,000 deal in Florida, wholesale deal from driving for dollars. I've got another good friend of mine who's a student in New Orleans. He actually has an appointment that he actually went on the appointment last week. The lady hadn't talked to her sister, unfortunately, in 10 years. So she's ready to sign off. It's a great deal. He'll probably make $15,000 on it from the Driving for Dollars app. So great way to find motivated sellers if you don't have a ton of money. It's driving around looking for houses that look really dilapidated, vacant, run down, broken glass, graffiti, whatever it is, and then literally just taking a picture. And for an extra $1, they charge you $1 to send a postcard. And for an extra $1, you can actually get their phone number and their email. And then, of course, you would just follow up with them, right?
Right. That's it.
So what questions do you guys have thus far for me?
I guess when starting the wholesale business, what are your must-haves?
And I think you kind of answered that with the beer and champagne. But what are your must-haves?
So I have an article somewhere out there that talks about the 10 or 12 steps of starting a wholesaling business. Mm-hmm. I'll find it and I'll put it 10 to 12 steps. Let me make a note and I'll put it in the show notes.
Okay.
But what I tell everyone is you got to have a really good follow-up system before you start marketing, because I made this mistake and countless other investors make this mistake. You just want to go out there and do it and you don't have a follow-up system. And where you're really going to make your money in this business is your database. The great thing about today is that there's so much technology out there that you don't have to spend thousands and thousands of dollars. So you guys, if you can spend $100 a month, just go to bradchandler.com/CRM, and that will give you information on what I think is one of the best CRMs out there. If you don't have $100 a month, there are other low-cost providers such as Sugar CRM and Zoho. I think Zoho you can get for 10, 20, 30 bucks a month, and it's a database. Now you're going to have to build it out a little bit, but it's got a lot of bones there. So number one is get a follow-up system. Number two is, again, if you have the money, I'd love to say get a website, because if you're in the business for the long term, you got to have a website, because what reputable company doesn't have a website, right?
Right.
You can get an incredible, totally built out, ready to go website where you just put your name and your logo in there for 50 bucks a month at Carrot. You just go to bradchandler.com/Carrot. They have the best websites in the world for getting motivated seller leads. So if you don't have the money to do that, you don't have the money to do that. It's just you got to get your first deal, and then you can do that. The third thing is to actually start marketing. Okay. And then for marketing, you can go to bradchandler.com/champagne, and you can find 20 ways, depending on your budget, all the way from door knocking and bandit signs to TV advertising that I talk about, and everything in between. Yeah. And then you obviously have to know how to talk to a seller, which I provide a whole series, an entire week in my training program that goes into talking about how to talk to motivated sellers. But if you don't have that, what you really have to focus on is, what is their struggle? They didn't call you because they need to sell their house. They called you because there's an internal problem that they're facing that you can solve. So in your marketing and your sales, you don't want to talk about how great you are and all these buyers you have. You want to talk to, what's the problem you have? Oh, you're facing foreclosure, or you've literally got a roof leak and there's water coming in. You don't have money to pay it, or you've got a sick relative in Florida. That's why they called you. And then you want to speak to how you solve that problem. Okay. Then from there, the only other pieces, and I'm kind of going through my course, we teach the next level is from marketing. It goes, how do you estimate repairs? And then it goes to, and by the way, if you want to get a way to estimate repairs, I'll give you guys this incredible spreadsheet that we have. All you have to do is simply text the word repair to 855-999-1616. And you just go down and say, okay, 10 windows, how many cabinets, the square footage it needs for paint. And it would literally give you the estimation for renovations. It's really not as hard as people think it is. Okay. Then you need to figure out the ARV of the house, the after repair value of the house. And you can do that on Zillow. Zillow will actually give you his estimate. And then you can actually go into Zillow and pull comparable sales. And what you do is you look at the square footage of the house that you're using as a comparable. You divide that by the sales price, and that gives you a per square foot sales price. Nice. You then take that per square foot sales price, and you really just multiply it by the square footage of your house that you're looking to buy or get under contract. And you can get the square footage, obviously, from the tax assessment website, right?
Right.
So now we've gotten to module 6 of my training course, and the final module is working with cash buyers and getting the deal done, where we have this really cool, intricate, we call it an open house, but it's really just to get investors and other buyers through the house and contractors. And then you get your highest and best offer. You have them sign an assignment agreement. They go to closing, right? They fund the purchase. So if you have the house under contract for 100 and Johnny wants it for 120, Johnny comes with his check to the title company for 120. Right. The seller that you promised 100 gets that 100. And guys, where does the $20,000 go? That extra $20,000
to us.
It goes in your pocket as a what?
Wholesaler.
An assignment fee. So that's it. Now it's really, this business is a pretty simple business. It's not easy, as you guys have come to find. You can't just start marketing and all of a sudden, I'm making tens of thousands of dollars. Who succeeds and who doesn't in this business? One, it's a person who doesn't give up. I went 8 long months to find my first deal. I decided in December of 2002 I was going to do a deal. I didn't do it until July. Every week that went by, I got more and more persistent. I said, if these guys can do it, I can do it. So It's a person who number one is persistent. Number two, follows up better than everyone. Number three, markets. markets, consistently markets. And then 4, it's probably someone who, it's probably the least, but the person really knows how to speak to, the seller and actually talk about how they can solve those internal pains. So let me take a quick pause. I'm going to tell you something really cool. I'm offering a select number of people. If you're one of the 78% of Americans living paycheck to paycheck, or you're struggling trying to grow your real estate investing business or find your first deal like Chris and Taj, you may be interested in this opportunity. At Brad Chandler Coaching, I teach people how to find freedom in their life doing exactly what we do, and that's to invest in real estate without needing tons of money or credit. If you're interested in learning more, you can see all of what my program has to offer by going to bradchandler.com/learn. On this page, you'll find a free training where I discuss how to start and grow a real estate wholesaling business. It doesn't matter what level you're at. I help all levels of real estate investors. If you want to learn to make tens of thousands of dollars wholesaling a house without bank loans or loads of cash, or you want to learn to grow your existing business, go ahead and watch my free training at bradchandler.com/learn. If you're looking for freedom in your life, this could be the answer. Okay, back to Taj and Chris. So, so I just said a lot in terms of growing your business. What are those pieces are you able to do? What are the pieces that you're uncomfortable with or can't afford? Let's talk through a little bit of that.
So I know right now we're not able to do the 100 bandit signs or get them ordered and printed out right now. I know we not able to do the CRM, which is the $100 a month, which is to be able to have the list. And they do for them. We can't do CRM at this moment.
Okay.
What we are able to do is that we can get the app that you suggested. And because we're only, if it's $1 per postcard and $1 to get there. So I'll say no more than $2 or $3 per house. If we're doing the driving for dollars or we're getting the list, we can definitely use that app when we're driving for dollars, which is almost everywhere we go. We're always looking at a house or a home somewhere, especially if it looks vacant. I know I can do at least the $23 a month for that app. Our first deal is just really, like we said, not only just to get into your program to learn more, but so that we can get our marketing up.
And the
website. Like I know how to do the website with Carrot, because I know about GoDaddy, but I didn't know about Carrot.
Where are you guys located, by the way?
We're in Anne Arundel County.
In Odenton.
Odenton. Okay. So we've done a lot of deals in Anne Arundel County, Annapolis area. It's a great area. Are you guys, do you have full-time jobs?
No, currently I don't. I'm doing this full time.
Okay. So you both are just focused on this full time?
Yes.
All right. So we really got to get you a deal here.
Yes.
All right. So I think the advice I gave earlier, I like the tax liens and foreclosure route that you're going. I think what you need to do is you need to make sure you're getting the tax liens from all the potential courthouses that you can, and that you're calling them, and you're not only calling them once, you're calling them over and over and over again. And then I think what you need to do is you need to layer in the door knocking, which is if you call, again, you can get Zoho, CRM, or worst case, you can use Google Sheets for nothing. And you can set up Google Sheets. It's just like Excel, where you put in the property addresses and then you put in the follow-up. You guys can build, you can build this out, just whatever it is. Just make sure that you're tracking what it is that you did on that particular day, and then what is the next activity. So tomorrow, the next day, next Thursday, you wake up and you go, oh, I've got to call John. So you guys can figure out that on your own. It's just really, just notifying yourself. You can use your calendar on your phone, whatever you need to do to call these people back. And then just consistently call them. And what I was going to say is that, so you spend a couple of weeks or whatever, and you call through the entire list. There's going to be people whose phone numbers don't work, or you can't get their phone numbers. You knock on their doors, and you knock on the doors of those folks who you never were able to reach. Okay. And of course, the closer you can to do it to your house, the better you are, because you don't have to spend money on gas. Now, again, if you're going to focus on tax liens or foreclosures, I'm going to say tax liens, because again, there's equity, and there's distress. So if you've got to go to the courthouse and you've got to ask 10 different people, don't leave that place until you find that list. And then do your best through whitepages.com, Zaba search, verify, whatever the other one that you mentioned was. Been verified.
Yeah.
Do all those things.
Okay.
Go ahead.
We've saw in like the newspaper the probates, meaning the homes that are either going up for probate, that they have to post for the will property. How do you feel about those? Do those take longer to wholesale, or there's just a lot of hoops and hurdles? Because we did a cold calling on one property, and the owner had Alzheimer's. He was in his 80s, and the son travels a lot on business. So the home health aide, she answered the phone, and we end up talking to the son, and they knew they were behind on their taxes. The home is paid for, but the son, he was very apprehensive about selling the home because it had sentimental values to it. So
how did you find that one?
Cold calling. We saw it through tax lien. It was a tax lien. He was going up for auction. It said it was up for auction, and the son was like, he couldn't. He was like, he had to pay it off, so they wouldn't go up for auction. But it was going up for auction because of the tax lien, because he got behind on the taxes of the home. It's already paid off though.
But I think your original question though was your original question calling obituaries or probate properties?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So the answer to your question is yes. They normally have more hair on the deals, which means if it hasn't gone through the probate process through the court system, it is going to take you a lot longer to do. But you may find some that have already been, gone through the probate process. So did you just literally look through the obituary section and then call the person?
We looked through the classified section, looked up the address, and just started calling people. But that particular home we found on the tax liens list. He was that homeowner was on tax.
Okay. So again, give these folks some love for the massive action that they're taking. It's awesome. Click that heart button, send them some love, because guys, I absolutely love the hustle. You don't have a lot of money. You've got some time. So just hustle. I so badly want you to get your first deal so you can reinvest that marketing. And then again, we'll just teach you how to build. It's not, how do you build a business? When you start with no money, you got to scrape, claw, everything you can do, just like I did when I started out and I had a $200 a month marketing budget. I didn't have a website when I started out. You just claw your way to that first deal. You get that first deal. You don't go out and buy a Rolex, right? You invest that in marketing, and then you do more. And then you start getting consistent, and then you're like, you know what? I want to do more marketing, but I can't keep up. So what do? I go hire someone. And it's really, really, really important to hire someone who's really good, because people people are everything when it comes to business. So then you just hire more people, and then it's just kind of like, it's exactly how we've grown Express Home Buyers. You start out, you make some money, you reinvest it into marketing, then you reinvest more of those dollars into growing your team, and then you just keep growing as big as you want to. And that's kind of where we're at right now.
Okay.
Sounds good.
How do you divide up when you get your first check, instead of getting excited about it and like, oh my gosh, I got to pay this bill, that bill, this bill, maybe stuff that you've accrued over the few months or years, and like you said, you were in a negative $80,000, and I have student loan from college that I'm still paying on.
And that's what mine was. That was mostly mine was student debt.
That's where we are. How did you divide up that check to make sure that you were paying your taxes, that you put enough percentage back into the business as far as investing outside of, if I don't know if it was a program like yours out when you started, but if we already know, okay, X amount of dollars is definitely going back into Brad's program so that we can learn more and do better. But how do you divide up that first check? And I know it depends on how much it is, but.
Yeah, so that's a hard answer. And plus, it was many, many, many years ago. So I'm going to give you my best answer. First of all, before you even get that check, what I want you to do, this week or by this weekend, as soon as you possibly can, is open that Google sheet that is for free on Google and write down every single one of your expenses, every single one of your expenses. And then I want you to start, and I want you to start tracking this. I'm talking about what it costs to live. And so, and if you can do the last 3 months, that's great, because you're going to see a lot of expenses that you can cut. So it may be you guys are in a situation that I'm just making this up. So you got a $200, Verizon cable bill and TV, whatever. Well, you may need to cut that, or you may need to get a lower package. There's $50 there. And then, maybe you're going and going to a nice clothing shop, or maybe you're going out to dinner every 3 nights. So look at what expenses you can take out, because all of those dollars that you save could be going to marketing to get your first deal. Then when you get that first paycheck, I would say you got to pay the absolute critical things that have to be paid. And I was talking with another prospective student last week about this. Every single piece of debt that you have, you need to call. If it's credit cards, if it's student loans, this poor lady had a terrible loan on her credit card, or on her car loan, her credit card. Call them all and say, hey, I'm having a really hard paying this. I might, I don't know what your situation is, but if it's close to, hey, I may not be able to pay this anymore, I need an interest rate break. Just try it, because I've called, it's been a long time, but I used to call credit card companies all the time and say, can you lower my rate? Can you lower my rate? And they would do it like 70% of the time. So really look at what expenses that you absolutely don't need that you can cut until you get your first deal. And then you can always bring those back. Then I would pay the critical things that you absolutely need to pay. And then I would use the rest of the money to grow in your business.
Okay.
And then you can make a goal. You can say, hey, if by December we've gotten income of, making this up, $100,000, which is around here, it's about 3 deals. Then, we'll go on a special trip to Disney and we'll spend $2,000 or something. So you can give that, that can be a motivation for yourself.
Gotcha.
All right.
Can you spend a couple minutes talking about the deal that we're trying to work together, and kind of how you find that, and kind of the roadblocks that we're hitting right now?
So that one, goodness gracious. First, when we first did the cold calling, we called the homeowner, and quite a few times we called him.
Give him some hearts, guys. Way to do it. Way to not just call him once. Send some
called him. I want to say we called him at least 7 or 8 times. Our goal is to call each homeowner between 12 to 16 times. So we had already had that in our forefront. I'd like to see you double that. Okay. So called him. I think on the 8th call, he answered. The first thing he said, well, how did you get this number? And I said, well, I paid for it. So paid for it, and we just kind of winged it and introduced ourselves as real estate investors. And we understand you're in a tough situation, and are you looking to sell your home so that we can help you not only just come out of your situation to walk away with all cash deal, but so that not only in turn you don't have this bad blemish on your credit report of anything like that, but you're able to start fresh and new with your family. And he was like, so what do you want to offer? And I was like, oh. So I said, well, let's set up an appointment so that we can do a walkthrough first. I said, I don't want to give you a price over the phone, but I know what kind of area you're in. He was in the high end area in Anne Arundel County. And he said, okay. So that took about.
Can I tell you what you should have said? What you could have said differently back to him?
Okay, what could have I said?
When he says, what's the offer? Just say, well, did you have an idea what you're looking for in the property? Just
okay.
I was having a conversation with my niece who was about to be interviewed the next day on Friday, and I told her a lot of times the question's more important than the answer, and really smart people always ask really good questions. So there's hardly any time where someone doesn't say something or ask you a question that you can't turn around and ask a question back. So because what you don't want to do is new investors always make the mistakes. There's 3 critical mistakes, not critical, but 3 huge mistakes new investors make. They want to go out to the house before they need to, because if this guy's looking for full market price, you've just wasted an hour and however much time and gas it's going to take you to get there. Number 2 is new investors typically will overestimate the after repair value, and they'll underestimate the renovations. So You don't want to go out and run out to all these houses. You want to make sure you're on the same page. So by flipping it, and he might say, I don't know, you tell me. And then you've got to have some knowledge and maybe pull up pull up Zillow right there. And in 2 seconds, it's going to tell you. And then just take a huge discount off of it. Take 30, depending on the rent. Ask them, say, before I can make you an offer, I need to ask you some questions about your home. And that's going to give you some time to do some research on Zillow and come up with a ballpark price of, 65 to 75% of the after repair value minus expenses.
That's what we did.
He wasn't quite forthcoming with all of the information.
And
with the
which often happens. By the way, guys, are you trying to text these people? Are you trying to text them in between calling them?
So I texted him last week because after we did the comps and after we did the walkthrough, I was like, okay, I have an offer for you. Yeah. And I texted him. At first I was calling him. I called him a lot because we wanted, and then I texted him. I was like, hey, are you still interested in the offer? If not, we can say, have a good day. And he said, I'll call you back. So he didn't call back. And we followed up with him within, I think, 2 hours. He did not answer the phone. And Chris was like, okay, don't call him anymore. He's going to call us because his auction date is coming close. And I said, okay.
And he's out of state.
This home that he owns in the Anne Arundel County, he moved out of state. He moved out of state, maybe about almost 2 hours away.
Okay.
And so back when when we called him and said, okay, let's do a walkthrough, I was going to say, well, at this point in time, we can do a walkthrough to your home. I said, because when I was asking him questions, does he have any water damage? Has he replaced the heating system? Has the roof been repaired? When's the last time the roof got repaired? We knew the age of the home. We knew the square footage of the home. And we asked him, has there been any major renovations to the home? This is all prior to us seeing the home. It took us about another week to actually see the home because this homeowner was very inconsistent with answering the phone.
Did he actually meet you at the house?
He did meet us at the house, and we took 130 pictures of this home. This home was over 5,000 square feet and had about an acre of land it sits on. So we finally met out there. It was Chris and I and the homeowner, and we took, like I said, about 130 pictures. And it needed a lot of work. It did. It needed a lot of work. And walking through it and seeing everything, we said, okay. And we kind of left, he chit-chatted and was like, he tried to get a feel for who we were and understand us as homeowners. Like, are you, he's like, I have 5 other offers. I said, okay, that's fine. And he said, so they're offering me within the millions range. And I said, okay, well, after this assessment and the walkthrough, we'll assess our cost and see what we're able to offer you. And that was it. So we received our offer with the comps and he declined. So. Okay. So a couple of things is, if going in that he has several offers, then you want to be the last person to present that offer because a lot of times they'll shop you. A lot of times, though, you'll probably find that there aren't other people competing. Sometimes there are, sometimes there aren't. If there aren't, you want to go there armed with the contract and try to every single time get them to sign it at the appointment and not wait. The old saying, time kills all deals. You can't say, hey, I'm going to go come to your house and then I'll come up with an offer. So in the future, just be prepared. You're going to know the after repair value of the house. And while you're walking through the house, you're going to be able to refine your renovation numbers and then make them an offer right there on the spot and try to close. And we use some advanced agreement techniques and some really cool stuff we teach in our training to try to make that whole process easier. The only other thing I would say is, and we got to wrap up because we've gone over, is that when I say text, guys, instead of not after you've made contact with them, but as a way to initially make the first contact, you're going to want to text. You don't know if it's a cell phone number or a landline, but today, I mean, almost everyone has a cell phone.
So as you're
Okay.
texting them, just text them and, text them something like, hey, it's Taj or it's Chris. I'm calling about your house. Can you call me back? And just leave it at that. It's not,
Nice.
it's not misleading, but it's like, well, why would someone, how did they get my phone number? What are they calling me about my house?
Right.
And then you engage them in a, hey, here's a ballpark offer I can make you. If I can come to a number that works for you, would you be willing and ready to sign up if I come out to your house? Yes. Okay. Then when you get out there, you do another upfront contract where you ask them, are they willing to commit at the end if you give them an offer that's acceptable to them. So,
Okay.
so guys, again, awesome job on the massive action that you're taking. You've done some things wrong and you've done some things right, but at the end of the day, you're out there trying to make it work. Just keep your chin up and just don't give up. The tax liens and foreclosures and the cold calling, you're onto something there. So just do more follow-up with them, do more outreach, text them, continue to call them, door knock. You guys are in the business together. So guess what? You can role play. So you guys should be role playing like crazy, acting like you're the seller, buyer, be a nice seller, nice buyer.
Okay.
Just try everything. Just constantly be role playing. And even go in another room and call each other on your cell phones and actually go through it. Because, the first time you got on a bike, did you just get on the bike and just take off down the road? No, you fell a bunch of times. Anything that you start at first, it's going to be uncomfortable. It's going to be a little awkward. But after you do it a couple of times, it just becomes second nature. So the more that you can practice the role playing with each other, the better that you're going to be when that call comes in.
Okay.
So, guys, that was awesome. I want to offer everyone who's stuck around to this point, I have a step-by-step training on how we made $33,750 on a townhouse that we never bought or renovated. Just simply go to bradchandler.com/results and you will be blown away. If there's any naysayers or people out there like, is this too good to be true? Can you really make money in real estate without a ton of money? I had enough of hearing people say that. So I was like, I'm going to go out and show you guys. So we even have the recorded phone calls. We have the postcard that we use. We show you how we ran the comps. We show you how we estimate the renovations. Like, it is the bomb. So anyway, thanks for sticking around to the end, everybody. Remember, it is possible to leave your job and get the freedom you deserve in your life through real estate investing without needing money to buy or renovate the houses. Myself, my students, and countless wholesalers around the U.S. are living proof. Taj and Chris, thank you for being a guest on my show. Could everyone thank Taj and Chris by clicking the heart button like 10 times and sharing this episode? All right, guys, this concludes our episode for the day. Thank you so much.
All right. Have a good one.
Bye-bye.